The problem is the clock didn't start with the beheading of the American journalist. That was just a symptom of what was a long and growing problem for the United States. So it's not wrong, it's just very, very late in the game, and it presents fewer options.
And that's the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. I respect what George said. I respect what Juan said, Charles, about, look, these Middle Eastern leaders need to step up as well. But what about the substance of what King Abdullah was saying? He's predicting, tell me whether you think he's right or not, a terror attack in Europe within a month and in America within 2 months. It's pretty scary.
Look, he has no way of knowing, although I will admit that he and his ilk, who have been spreading Islamic radicalism throughout the world with their madrasas, are deeply responsible for what's happening. And they're shocked to discover, Islamic radicalism in the neighborhood is wearing a bit thin. However, of course we need the Muslim world to unite against these guys. We would also, like to have a cure for Ebola tomorrow. It is not going to happen. It hasn't happened in the history of Islam. It's not going to happen tomorrow. We're not doing anything against ISIS, or we will not be doing anything against ISIS as a favor to Saudi Arabia. It reminds me of a speech that Pat Moynihan made. It was the low point of his career, in which he opposed the Gulf War in 1991, which liberated Kuwait, after a speech brilliantly denouncing the laziness and ingratitude of the Kuwaiti royal family. He was right about all of it. But the reason for the Gulf War was not to liberate and to save the royal family. It was for American and Western interests. The fight against ISIS is for our interests. It's not for Saudi Arabia. And the idea of inviting Iran into Iraq and into Syria to fight against ISIS isn't exactly a happy prospect either. Iran simply leads another branch of Islamic radicalism. It's soon going to be nuclear, and you don't want them in charge of Mesopotamia. The unfortunate fact is we're going to have to act on our own with whatever allies we can assemble for our own interests.
Your mention of the Gulf War reminds me, George, over the weekend there was an op-ed piece in the New York Times by Secretary of State John Kerry talking about, look, we need a coalition just like the first President Bush put together in 1991 for the first Gulf War. It was immediately pointed out, then Senator Kerry voted against that coalition to go in. What's going on?
Well, it also took George Herbert Walker Bush many months to put that together. And there are those who say we don't have the months to give because, as Mike Rogers said, this clock started on this a long time ago. However, you can't just fly F-16s and F-18s over Mosul and Fallujah and liberate cities. They have to be liberated on the ground, and we're not going to do it. Maybe we should, but we're not. I don't think we should. In any case, we're not. Therefore, we're either going to get Arab armies involved, or those cities are going to remain in ISIS hands.
George is pointing out an important reality about the pressure on President Obama to act, and yet there seem like his options are very difficult. I want to play a bite from Senator Dianne Feinstein, a very prominent Democrat, chairs the Senate Intelligence Committee. Get Juan to react. Listen.
I think I've learned one thing about this president, and that is he's very cautious. Maybe in this instance, too cautious. I do know that the military, I know that the State Department, I know that others have been putting plans together. And so hopefully those plans will coalesce into a strategy that can encourage that coalition.